block for this video, and we're going to look at first alignment pattern, because it's very important to think of the body in terms of large groups of muscles or different shapes being created, because muscles actually don't work in isolation. They go along giant webs of fascia. Muscles communicate with each other. And so this first alignment pattern is called a prana pattern. And this is the pattern that's governed by inhaling, and it relates really well to back bending. And this is really the key to focus on if you're stiff. So it's usually the one that's mainly taught. Anusara Yoga seemed to teach something pretty close to these lines, but I learned it from Richard Freeman. And so placing the block between the legs, stand about hip distance for samasthiti, and then give the block a very gentle squeeze with an emphasis on spinning the fronts of the thighs inward, internal rotation of the thighs. And as you do that, the buttocks will spread. Another cue to help find that is to root through the heels and scrub them away from each other. So the buttocks spread, fronts of the thighs turn in, then lift and spread your toes up. If you're having a hard time doing that, you can train the awareness of the foot arches by pressing all 10 toes down and trying to only lift the big toe. It's really hard because it'll develop the arch of your feet very long. So you can either do that or lift all toes. As we go up the body, low belly is going to scoop in, shoulders roll up and back, and if you turn the palms out, that's super prana. This is the external rotation of the shoulder. And what you'll notice is that this basically takes somebody who's in a slump out of it. So if I go into a slump to really exaggerate it, and my feet are turned out, the inward spin of the legs, whoop, we use that first, and then go up the chain, scoop in the low belly, roll the shoulders back, and then this actually ends up tipping the pelvis forward such that the pubic bone drops and the tail lifts at the back. And you can even scrunch my low back if I wanted to. And just create a little bit of lift to the chin. So this pattern, the prana pattern, it's not a great samasthiti. It's overdoing the back bend, weakening the upper belly by pinching the blades. But this is very difficult for many people to do, and people that are really stiff can benefit by doing yoga this way. What's pretty cool about this pattern is that it represents principles of back bending, openness, and inhaling, which can actually be used in any posture, but they need to be balanced by their opposite, which is called the apana pattern. We'll talk about that in the next video. So prana pattern, this is really what lets you lengthen the hamstrings when you're stiff. So I get that forward tilt of the pelvis, and then I fold. That forward tilt of the pelvis is responding to the inward spin of the legs, and that lets me stretch my hamstrings. Pretty cool. This can be better illustrated if we actually sit on the ground, but it's basically the same principle. So you can take the block out, and we'll sit in Dandasana. So let's put ourselves in a slump again. And the first thing to do is that tight hamstrings tend to pull the pelvis back into a palm. Abdomen contracted. Very hard to get out of here, so we have to relax the abdomen. That's one thing. We also have to bend the knees to take tight hamstrings out of the equation. And then we can roll the shoulders up and back. Relax the abdomen to lengthen. If your abdomen is contracted, you wouldn't be able to lengthen. So relax the abdomen with the heart. And then if you're more flexible, you could probably even straighten your legs out in front of you. Pinch the shoulder blades together, then you end up in super prana, fronts of the thighs spinning in. And he said that the most pranic posture to really examine these qualities is fish pose, which is very similar to Dandasana if it's done hyperprana. So in fish, we're on the forearms, arcing back quite a lot as you can see, and then gradually lifting the chin, taking the top of the head down. And so all these qualities in this posture represent the pattern of inhaling, expanding. When you're stretching your hamstrings, these are the same cues that you actually use. So it doesn't just apply to back bending, it actually applies to stretching and opening the body in a safe way. It's really the primary action for many, many poses. And so if we were to stretch our hamstrings out in Paschimottanasana, we first find that same inward spin, going through all the same steps as before. Lift and spread the toes. And then inhale, lift the heart, soften the belly, and scoop in below the navel. And then exhale, we keep the belly soft. And then reach for the toes. Inhale, lift the heart. And then contracting the quadriceps is another part of the prana pattern. Contracting the quads, both flex the hip, and they straighten the knee. So contract the quads, spread the toes, it's all part of our primary action. Good. So it's very easy to settle on only doing postures that way, but there's a lot of problems that can happen with this pattern. Certain injuries that are very common among yogis include hamstring injuries, which come from lifting the sit bones too much. Another common injury is wrist problems. Too much prana, too much external rotation of the shoulder tends to lift the thumb and index finger off the floor. And so it's no good. Another common injury is low back injuries from too much contraction in the low back, too much arching, and not enough core stability to actually support the posture. There's some other injuries, but I can't come to mind right now, so let's just stop there. If you apply the prana pattern to actual yoga postures,